Hello, you disgusting, ugly, miscreant, godforsaken packs of shit. I've got a dose of bile for you to help vaccinate against the general bullshit of the world, and I promise it won't give you autism because that's impossible. Read a book. Today I'm talking about capitalism, and specifically how capitalism is an inherently flawed system that is very, very obsolete in today's age.
There are three good reasons why this capitalism doesn't really make any sense. I'm going to start with my favorite.
One of the huge flaws of capitalism is that everybody has to work to earn their right to survive. Now, in our American society, we have managed to subvert this by not being a full capitalism. We got food stamps. We have socialist programs that make capitalism make a little more sense because you can't really starve to death in America, and that's a good thing because not everybody can work. So that's good. That's a step in the right direction. But capitalism is an inherently flawed idea. Anybody who wants to go ahead and say capitalism is perfect, fuck off. You just turn off the video now. You are too dumb to live or process new ideas. In a society where everyone has to work to survive, or to succeed now, is not just survival. It is not survival anymore, it's success. If you want a house, do you want a car, do you want to have a quality of life better than living on the streets, you have to work. This doesn't make any sense. If you have three people out in the middle of the wasteland in a closed system, and one of them, it turns out, has enough technology to produce abundance for all three of them, should the other two have to work? Because that's fair? How is that fair to the other two? What you do is shifts at that point. There are hundreds of solutions that don't involve everybody has to work because that's fair. Because that's stupid. We are trending towards the automaton movement where everything is going to be automated, and people act like this is terrible because there's not going to be any jobs left. You have any idea how many billions of humans have spent their lives working towards the goal of living in a paradise where nobody has to work anymore? That's the American dream. That's the human dream. That's what people have always sought and wanted, and you're saying it's a bad thing because now the rich people can't capitalize. Go fuck yourself. You have not thought this through. The second thing the second thing is that capitalism is an inherently competitive system. They always tout this as a good thing. It means if you work hard, you have a good idea, and you have a little bit of luck, that means you can succeed. You can beat out the competition. What they fail to mention is that this means that there are winners and losers. People will always be left behind in a competitive system. There will be losers. And I hate to break it to you, it's most of you people watching. If you don't have at least $3 million, you're losing. You have already lost in this competitive system. We leave people behind. And that's built into the framework of the system. How is that an evolved, brilliant understanding? How is that a brilliant system where people will be left behind? And the best they can hope for is that they won't starve to death. The biggest and most obnoxious problem with capitalism is the concept of ownership. I'm not going to get too far into it because it involves philosophy that is above my head, but let me just briefly frame it in saying, can you own things just by calling dibs on them? Our entire system is founded on dibs. Someone got there to the wood and the land and the oil first, and they said, it's mine now. And I own it, which gives me certain privileges and rights over it. Except that's just some shit in the ground that you just came across. You called dibs. This system worked great for the fucking first 100-some years where that was a viable option, but I can't go out and call dibs on some land. I can't just stake a claim, ever, again, anywhere. All the land on earth is owned by someone. I would have to buy it. I don't have that kind of fucking money. I can't just go out into the wood with an axe and make a living. I can't do that anymore. Our system fundamentally functions on us having jobs. Let me talk a bit about the hard work thing. They always maintain that with hard work, a good idea, and luck, you can make it. Except most of us, nearly all of us, don't actually have access to all three of those things, ever. And I don't have any idea where people get off saying that hard work is the real deciding factor. It's not. The hardest working people on the planet are poor. If they weren't, they wouldn't be working so hard. Because rich people don't have to work. You ever heard the expression, you get rich enough, your money works for you? That's fucking hilarious. Money doesn't work, all right? I've never seen money pull a lever. People work for you. You invest some money, you say, hey, do what I want and I'll give you what you need. Here's my money dangling over your head, and they'll work for you. The hardest working people will inherently be the poorest, because the richer you get, the less you're supposed to have to work. This all ties into trickle-down economics, which, by the way, has never worked, ever. How much money, how much of human effort and resource, pure joules of effort, have gone into a Swedish bank account, a Swiss bank account? How much Nazi gold is still stuck in a bank somewhere, inherently part of our system? I don't know if you guys all know this, but the global economy as we know it today still inherently functions involving Nazi gold taken from the wedding rings, the gold fillings, and the various wealth of people who were murdered and used as modern slaves. Thanks, Holocaust. You made it, and you made the world as we know it today. World War II, by the way, is entirely the product, every war since World War II, and especially World War II, is entirely the product of rich people playing chess. Have you ever heard about Hitler's economic miracle? There's no such thing as an economic miracle. That's the dumbest thing. People gave Hitler money. They invested in his project. Hitler rolled in Ford-made tanks. Do you have any idea how many American soldiers were killed by Ford's profiteering, playing both sides of a war? Henry Ford is a terrible fucking man. And I love that we worship him as the inventor of basically nothing. If you've ever read Brave New World, that adds an incredible amount of context to it. Well, we're all worshiping Henry Ford because we're too stupid to know better, and we're happy that way. That's basically the worst case possible scenario. I feel like nuclear fire is definitely the way to go if we live in a world where we're all stupidity slaves. By the way, in a full capitalism, you're a slave. In a full-blown, no socialistic aspects capitalism, you are a slave. Because if you stop working, you die. If you have no alternative but to do a job, that's slavery. And I appreciate that it's somewhat different in a lot of respects from the slavery that we all know and love that made our country what it is today, mostly because they don't beat you as much. They use emotional trauma instead. It's not the same. I appreciate it. Does not equate. It is still the same category, though. It's gotten so bad that people equate wealth and success with reasonable and rational. I actually read a dissertation on this. I wish I could think of who it was by, and if I could provide a link. I don't think I can. But let's say, for instance, you have a rich guy whose child is dying from some wasting illness, and then they blow their entirety of their wealth trying to save it. So many people would regard this as an unsound financial decision. I feel like most people could empathize, and they would find themselves in an interesting position where they would say, well, he's giving up all his wealth and success he's worked so hard for. What an unsound financial decision. But he's doing it to save the life of a kid. Well, this is, he's doing a bad thing for a good thing. No, he's doing a good thing. You could have any number of situations, any number of moral gray areas, and you can see that people will respond with the financially sound decision is obviously the rational one, even if it isn't the morally right one. How can what is rational not be what is morally or ethically right? That's fundamentally nonsensical. Again. One last critique is about the weird association between religion and capitalism, Christianity specifically, and capitalism. It's staggering to me that most Christians are capitalists, and the most capitalistic places on earth have tons of Christians, because Christianity is inherently an anti-wealth religion. It is a hippie religion. Jesus was a rampant socialist. I don't have any idea how it's hard to see that. Two different rich people approached him and said, I want to be Christian. And what he said to them was, give up all of your money. That's step one. You can't have that much wealth. It's wrong, inherently. This is where Jesus uttered the famous phrase, I think, in Matthew. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich person to go to heaven. That means rich people don't go to heaven. I don't understand how you can interpret that to be different. Rich people don't go to heaven. For further evidence, you can see in Acts after the Gospels, you see a proper Christian society as they describe it, where they are full-blown flipping communists. They all work their jobs, and whatever extra they produce, they give to an apostle who then divvies it out to anybody who needs it. That's communism. I'm not saying we should be communist. I'm saying you Christians, your fucking God said to be communist. What is your excuse then? I love Calvinism. That's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. How much mental gymnastics did you have to go through to get to there? Well, I mean, it says up and down that we shouldn't own things, but, you know, this religion doesn't make any sense anyway, so we're just going to make shit up as we go. Bam. Calvinism. Any Calvinist out there, suck and die. I hope you're ashamed of yourself. I know what you're saying, because they're easy to predict. How the hell would I know? And you are correct. I have no authority, expertise, or even pertinent education on this matter. You have only the merit of my arguments to work with. My defense on this topic is that my arguments are obvious. Any shithead who has ever walked could see the obvious inherent flaws in capitalism. Newsflash, it ain't perfect. Let's try for perfect. How about that? Let's try for better, maybe. Is that possible? And your second thing, I know. Then what do we do? Hater, tell me. What do we do? I'm lost. I don't fucking know. Why is it that when I walk into your house and say, your house is on fire, your response is, well, why don't you put it out? I don't know what I'm not. Do I look like a fucking fireman? They haven't given me a proper education. I don't know what to do. But here's some important points. First off, we have more technology to yield abundance than ever in human history. We know for sure that the amount of resources we can supply right now are well beyond what humanity would need for everybody to live happily forever. I don't know how exactly we would do it. It would require infrastructure. It would be some kind of weird, awesome thing. Secondly, we have instant communication. All of our governments, all of our systems have been made totally obsolete. You realize that our government fundamentally operates on the notion that you have to get everybody together, get a group of people together physically in a room to decide things. Except we don't. We have instant communication. We can make a magical fake room in the sky that literally every member of our population can be in at once. And I admit it would be chaotic, require a little bit of finagling, but we can all do it now. We have instant communication. That totally alters the paradigm. And we should be putting that and keeping that in mind when we come up with a new system that's not horribly, obviously obsolete. On my way out, I got one last thing to say to help you appreciate the gravity of the situation we are in. Every day, people die. People die because we leave them behind. 20,000 people die of starvation a day. Half the population of the planet doesn't even have electricity. We are leaving those people behind so that we can have shiny things like Star Wars and Flappy Birds. Is that really a cost you want to pay for that? And then you all come across like, well, it's not my job. Yes, it is. It's everyone's job. Takes a village to raise a kid. You know, that thing that every major religion has been talking about, how the fate of one of us is the fate of all of us. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. Everyone who dies is your problem. That's your family out there. They're responsible for you. You're responsible for them. And if you can't help them, I appreciate that. I can't either. You should demand that the people who can do, because they owe them that. No rich person got to where they are on their own merit. They did it on the backs, the blood, and the tears of the people beneath them. And then they treat them like shit. That is your family out there. And it is someone's job to take care of them. We didn't come into this world in a vacuum. We are all inherently tied to each other. This is the important message to take away from every philosophy, from every religion, is that we are all working together. This bullshit about how people starving over there is not my problem. Yes, it is. Get over yourself. Stop buying Star Wars. Start helping people. If you can't help people, get mad. Demand that the people who can help people do it. Did you know, fun fact, that you need only $3 million to never have to work again? With $3 million, you can guarantee success and happiness and a reasonable lifestyle for not only yourself, but for your fucking kids. Which means that everybody over $3 million, $5 million, say $10 million, everybody with over $10 million had better be doing something really, really worthwhile for it. But they're not. James Cameron didn't give all of that fucking money to produce Avatar and when he made Avatar to some starving children in some country whom the movie was about. No, it went into his fucking pocket and he bought a Porsche. He didn't give back anything to the poor bastards who made it happen. This is sick and depraved, and you should all be disgusted with just not only just yourselves, but for our illustrious royalty leadership, the rich people. Never stop fighting for your own. That's our family, and family comes first. You all should be disgusted and ashamed of yourselves for all the shiny, interesting trinkets that we have given up worrying about human lives to get. You sacrifice for Nestle, for Star Wars, Michael goddamn Bay. You sacrifice lives for it with your neglect. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be disgusted. You should get on the internet and start yelling about how people who have the power to do something about this should fucking do it already! Hugs and kisses, I hope you die. Bye-bye.